Similes and metaphors. Here you have your table of contents. Remember, the table of contents tells you where everything is, and if you need to find something, they have the page numbers on the side. So if I wanted to read simile jokes, I would turn to page 16. When a bear is like a ballerina. Once a bear went ice skating. The bear was graceful. He seemed to float along. His smile was sweet. That story's okay, but isn't this next one more interesting? Notice how my voice goes up with a question mark. The bear was as graceful as a ballerina. He seemed to float along like a butterfly. His smile was as sweet as honey. What happened? Well, we added similes. As graceful as a ballerina, like a butterfly, as sweet as honey. I'm as graceful as a ballerina. Doesn't really look like a bear now, does it? Kind of looks like a alien. Similes compare two things. Those two things are different in most ways, but they are alike in one surprising or important way. For instance, look at the chart. The thing we're talking about is the bear. It's being compared to a ballerina, and how both are surprisingly alike is that both are graceful. That's how we could say the bear was like a ballerina, because he was graceful. The next thing that's compared is the bear and the butterfly. Both float smoothly, so you're able to compare the butterfly as floating as smoothly as, the bear as floating as smoothly as a butterfly. And then we have a smile and honey. And what do those have to do with each other? They're both sweet. So a simile is an interesting way of describing something. It can clear things up. It can make a story funny. After all, how could a bear ever be like a butterfly? Only in a simile. I'm as sweet as honey. So they have to be two things that really have nothing in common whatsoever. So you wouldn't compare a bear to another bear. But you can compare it to honey because they're both sweet. As white as snow. Some similes use the word as. Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. My new blue blanket is as soft as a kitten. After the race, Claire's legs were as limp as noodles. My eyes are as big as saucers. Now, if you don't know what a saucer is, you use your picture clues, look down. He's holding that cup of coffee, and then he also has a plate in his hand. It's one of the smaller kind of plates, but that is a saucer. So when he says his eyes are as big as saucers, it's like his eyes are as big as plates. Like a log. Some similes use the word like. These similes usually answer the question, how? How did the dog sleep last night? The dog slept like a log. How fast did you run? I ran like the wind. These cookies taste like sawdust. I'm taking it, that's why his very long tongue is sticking into that cup of water. Long similes. A simile compares two things, but those things don't have to be objects. They can be entire activities, and they can take many words to explain. Looking for my sister in the mall is like looking for a needle in a haystack. Looking for my sister in the mall is like looking for a needle in a haystack. It would be super hard to find a needle in a haystack. So I'm taking it's super hard to find his sister in the mall. I'm grounded all week. I feel like a bug trapped in a jar. So I'm taking it because he can't go anywhere. He's comparing himself, or she's comparing himself to a bug trapped in a jar. People swarmed around the movie star like ants near a box of donuts. And we all know what ants do when there's food left on the ground. They gather around it and crawl all over it. And so that's where people swarmed around the movie star. They were all over the movie star. And here we have our cute little, we don't know what kind of character that is, but he's as snug as a bug in a rug. Is he really a bug in a rug? Well, I see a bug in a rug, but what that means is I'm just tucked up all nice and comfy. More similes. We use similes all the time. Here are some common similes. Remember, similes, you have to have the word as or like in it to be a simile, and they are used to compare two unlike things. Here are some common ones. As cool as a cucumber, as cute as a button, as easy as ABC, as flat as a pancake, as old as the hills, as smooth as silk. Here's some more that use the word like. Fits like a glove, spreads like a wildflower fire, sleeps like a baby, sparkles like diamonds, sticks out like a sore thumb, grows like weeds. So remember, the ones that use like are usually answering how something is like something else. And here we have our lovely elephant. I'm as light as a feather. Simile jokes. Similes can make some good jokes. They compare things that are different. Question. How is a rabbit like a cornstalk? Answer. They both have big ears. Ha 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 ha. How is a baby like an old car? Answer. They both have a rattle. Question. How are pancakes like a baseball team? They both need good batter. Do you know any other simile jokes? See if you can come up with some on your own. Batter up. My mind is a sponge. Her home is her castle. The kid never stops eating. He is a bottomless pit. Those sisters are two peas in a pod. In each example, the colored words created a metaphor. Metaphors are like similes. They compare two different things that are alike in one important way. However, a metaphor doesn't use like or as like a simile. In a metaphor, one thing is just something else. So, for instance, if you look at the chart on page 19, we have a home and it's being compared to a castle. And they're both alike because they're places where you take charge. Okay, so when she says her home is her castle, that means it's a place where she's safe or in charge. Look at the chart on the second row. He compared to bottomless pit. Neither can be filled up. The kid never stops eating. He's a bottomless pit, meaning he's never going to get full. That's why the pantry's empty. That's why we end up having to go to the grocery store all the time. Look at the third row. Thing or person. Sisters, compared to two peas in a pod. Now we know if we opened up a pod of peas, there would be some sitting inside of it and they'd be stuck together. Okay, so sisters and the peas in the pod, they're both very close to each other and very similar. So those sisters are two peas in a pod. If we look down at our crazy looking monsters, my hair is a bird's nest. So you're comparing hair to a bird's nest, and they're both alike, probably because they're both messy. My hair actually is a bird's nest. That's not a simile at all. That is figurative language taken to the next level. And that's what we're going to do with some of our art today. Swim like a fish and eat like a pig. Can you swim like a fish? Does your cousin eat like a pig? Similes and metaphors often use animals. We usually give animals certain traits. Whales are big and pigs are messy or greedy. Sometimes the animals really have these traits. Sometimes they are untrue or exaggerated. Whales really are big, but pigs are actually quite clean. Here are some more animals and their traits. Which ones do you think are exaggerated? All right, so look at your chart on number 21, on page 21. Animal, chicken. Chickens are usually fearful or cowardly. They run away. So when somebody calls somebody a chicken, they're calling them fearful or cowardly. You're such a chicken is a metaphor because it doesn't use like or as the way a simile does. Lion and brave. He was a brave lion charging in to the house. Mule and stubborn. Owl and wise. Ox, strong. Peacock, proud. Weasel, sneaky. So here are some animals that have certain traits that you can compare to people or other things that share that same trait but are not alike with the animal in any other way. Life is just a bowl of cherries. Many songs and poems use metaphors. Some of those metaphors have become common sayings, like "You are my sunshine." That's even a song. Meaning, you are a bright spot in my life, because we know the sunshine is bright. Do you know any songs or similes with metaphors or similes? Life is a bowl of cherries. That means life is fun. So if you want to look at some more, you can see we have a library here, and it's got different books that you can read. And then it's got a place where you can go visit on the web right here. Visit our homepage for lots of links. Okay? And it's called childsworld.com/links. So you can go there. And let's look at our glossary just to review. Compare, to notice what is the same and what is different between two or more things. We compare and contrast all the time. It is a major part of every reading from kindergarten through high school. Similes and metaphors compare different things. Exaggerated, to make something more important or bigger than it really is. The traits of some animals are exaggerated in similes. Metaphor, a way of describing something by saying it is something else. You are my sunshine is a metaphor. Remember, it does not use like or as. Similes, ways of comparing things using like or as. Like, she's as cool as a cucumber, meaning she's relaxed. She's just laying there like a cucumber, and she's cool because she's in the refrigerator. Traits, the qualities that make one thing different from another thing. One of a whale's traits is its large size. So again, the glossary, remember, is a part of a book that gives you the definitions. It's kind of like the dictionary of your book. And then the other part that comes at the end is the index. And the index just lists certain words and can tell you what page to find them on. So if you're trying to find something fast, you can look in the index if it's a certain word, or if it's a topic, remember, you go back to the table of contents at the beginning and it can tell you what page it starts on. Okay, so we're going to take the quiz. All right. And if you have my code, it's CDS3904. You can log in to Get Epic. You can go into Math to Heart's figurative language, and you can take this quiz yourself. But I'm going to go ahead and take it now because I like taking quizzes. Similes and metaphors blank two things that are blank. Explain two things that are different. Similes and metaphors compare two things that are different. Similes and metaphors define two things that are different. Similes and metaphors compare two things that are the same. I remember it talking about comparing two things that were different and were only alike in one way. Complete this simile. The bear is blank as a blank. All right, I remember the bear. He was ice skating. The bear is as furry as a ballerina. I don't think a ballerina is furry. The bear is as graceful as a ballerina. Possibly. The bear is as hungry as a ballerina. I don't think of a ballerina as hungry. The bear is as tiny as a ballerina. Well, the bear's not tiny, so the only one that makes sense is graceful. The bear is as graceful as a ballerina. Remember that when you're taking a test, you should always go back and put your answer in the blank before you hit the answer so you're sure it's correct. All right, complete the simile. After the fitness test, remember your fitness test when you're running like crazy, my legs were, as strong as a horse. Pretty sure my legs would not feel strong after running a whole lot. As long as a football field. Why would the fitness test make my legs get longer? As limp as noodles. Noodles, a limp noodle can't do anything. Maybe. As fast as a cheetah. So I'm going to go with these two. Usually there are two you can choose from. Now, if I was in the middle of the fitness test and I was running, I might say, during the fitness test, I ran as fast as a cheetah. But this is afterwards. And I know after I run, my legs are tired and I feel like I can't do anything. So after the fitness test, my legs were as limp as noodles. I'm going to go with that. What are the two things being compared in the following simile? Stanley was flat as a pancake. Okay, so who is in this sentence right here? Stanley. What's Stanley being compared to? The other noun is a pancake. How are they alike? Because they're both flat. And if you remember, if you've read the book Flat Stanley, Stanley is actually flat. So what two things? Things are nouns. That's a noun. What are the two nouns here? Stanley and pancake. Okay, so we're going to go with Stanley and pancake. Yay! What things are being compared in the following simile? The girls stuck together like peanut butter and jelly. The girls stuck together like peanut butter and jelly. So we know it's a simile, so we know it's got like. Okay, so this is where we start the comparison. So that means this has got to be peanut butter and jelly. That's one of our nouns. And our other noun, what's being compared like peanut butter and jelly? The girls. So the girls stuck together like peanut butter and jelly. So the girls being together and peanut butter and jelly. So is it the girls together and what they like to eat? It doesn't talk about what they like to eat. Even though peanut butter and jelly is food, it doesn't talk about them wanting to eat it. Stuck together. Again, this is what are the things being compared. That means you need nouns. Stuck is not a noun. Girls and peanuts. Well, it does say peanut butter, but that's not peanuts. It's peanut butter and jelly. The girls' friendships and peanut butter and jelly together. When you put a peanut butter and jelly sandwich together, it sticks together, and that's what it's saying the girls' friendship does. How is a metaphor different from a simile? All right, so remember, we started with similes. Simile starts with an S, and I always remember it as simile starts with an S, like the word as has an S in it, and I know the simile compares two things using like or as. A metaphor does not use like or as. It just says it that it is that thing. So a metaphor compares two things using the word like or as. A simile doesn't use like or as. We just said as and simile is your key, so we know that that is not correct. A metaphor compares more than two things. No, because we've been talking about that this figurative language compares two unlike things. A simile compares two things using like or as. A metaphor doesn't use like or as and says one thing is another. I think this one's right. Let me read my last question. A metaphor isn't comparing anything. Well, we know that's not true because the whole book is about comparing things. So I think it's this one. A simile compares two things, like or as, and a metaphor doesn't use it. What is being compared in the metaphor? The class misbehaved when Miss Doris was gone. She was a dragon when she came back. The class misbehaved when Miss Doris was gone. She was a dragon when she came back. Okay, so who's being compared? Remember, it's comparing two unlike things. Things, they've got to be nouns. The class is a noun. Their behavior could be a noun, but it talks about misbehaving. And that's all in one right here. So I'm not sure that is it. The class and a dragon. So it says she was a dragon. She's the key there. She means one person, a woman. So who's the only girl or woman we're talking about? That's Miss Doris. Now are we comparing Miss Doris to behavior? Or are we comparing Miss Doris to a dragon? She was a dragon when she came back. I bet when she came back in, and saw them misbehaving that she roared like a dragon. Miss Doris and a dragon. What is being compared in the metaphor? The clouds sailed across the sky. Okay, what are the two things being compared? Find your nouns. These, not a noun, it's an article. Clouds is a noun. Sailed is a verb. Across is a preposition. The is an article. And sky is a noun. So the two things that are being compared are clouds and sky. Are they? Or is it that the clouds are sailing? Or is a cloud being compared to a ship that sails? I am not sure. Because it's not the clouds and the sky are not, it's not telling how they're alike. Because they're not alike because they sailed. So what sails? Okay, so a ship sails. So I think it has to be the clouds and a ship. All right, that was hard. That was confusing. Complete the metaphor. He aced his math test. So aced, just so you know, means made like a 100. So he did super awesome on his math test. He is a, now remember, you're looking for something that is not like it, but can only be like it in a little way. He is an evil wizard. First of all, we know it can't be evil wizard because evil starts with E, and this has an A, okay? And A does not come before words that start with a vowel. So it would have to be and, so we know that's not it. He aced his math test. That means he is a smart kid. Oops, I didn't mean to choose that. Blasted! It should have been he's like a shining star. So you can go back, you can reread this and see if you can get a better answer than what I got. I got an 89% because I clicked the answer before I finished reading all of the choices. So make sure you take your time and do that. You can see all these other things that you can read. I'm going to make a collection for learning about language. So these are super cool books. They're funny, they're fun, and I think you will really enjoy them. So we have finished this book, and I'm going to exit out, and it is in our Math to Heart figurative language collection, which you can find if you're my students. When you get to your section, you'll see the there'll be a, you can go to my library and go to collections and assignments, or there's also a mailbox that will have it. So enjoy Get Epic, guys. It's an awesome site. It's phenomenal, and I just really hope that you enjoy it. And I will see you later with a new read aloud.